Of its prime minister after just a year and a half in office. A vote of no confidence against Habib Assad passed overwhelmingly. Politicians' chief concern were his inability to secure economic reform and national security. More now from Caroline Malone.
118 members of parliament voted Prime Minister Habib Assad out on Saturday. Just 3 wanted him to stay, another 27 abstained. He'd lost their confidence after only a year and a half in power. President Beij Qaid Sebsi called for a new unity coalition last month. But Assad hadn't been able to secure one. He'd expected to be pushed out.
Honestly, I was surprised. I said it on several occasions about the president's initiative for the formation of a government of national unity.
There have been protests over economic problems in the country. Growth was down to 0.8% last year and nationwide unemployment was at 15%. People are particularly angry about corruption and the government's inability to deal with it. Tourism contributes about 8% of the country's economy, but there were also 2 high-profile attacks by ISIL last year, killing 59 foreigners. And there's been a state of emergency since November, when a suicide bomb killed 12 presidential guards in the capital. Tunisia was seen as a model example of how to transition to democracy since Arab uprising protests in 2011. But since then, a number of governments have failed to improve a weak economy and are struggling to secure the country. Assad is the latest casualty. Caroline Malone, Al Jazeera.
Youssef Cherif is a Tunisian activist and blogger and political analyst, and he joins us live from Tunis via Skype. Thank you so much for your time. What does this vote say about the state of government in Tunisia?
Well, it says, first of all, that democracy is functioning. It says that when Tunisian politicians disagree with each other, they do not kill each other or go on civil war or call for the army to stage a coup. But they go to parliament and they vote on the government and they oust their prime minister. Now, this is the bright side. The dark side is that it shows that there is a clear political crisis in Tunisia. This is the 6th or 7th prime minister since 2011 that the country is actually putting aside. You know, with the change of prime ministers and the change of government, there is a standby in a number of projects that the government is actually implementing, and so all the projects that the state government has put in place since it started a year and a half ago are now going through a phase of standby. And so this political crisis is deepening the economic crisis that the country is going through.
So you said, if I can get in for just a moment, let me ask though, is what's needed to turn things around bigger than one person, bigger than continuing to change the government? What will get more stability?
Well, I think exactly. I mean, instead of changing prime ministers, the Tunisian leaders need to agree on a certain number of things and keep going with at least one clear prime minister and having him or her applying the reforms needed. So clearly, what the country needs now are drastic economic reforms, drastic security reforms. Someone to tackle very seriously corruption, because and the Prime Minister himself said it today in his speech, more dangerous than terrorism or more important than fighting terrorism, there is a need to fight corruption, because corruption is really threatening everything and eating everything. So what you need to do this is not, and every Prime Minister who came since 2011 was supposed to do this, but then you have political parties do not agree on the powers to give to the prime minister. Different players in society, be it in the political scene or in the civil society scene, have different opinions and different views, and that puts a lot of pressure on any prime minister who comes and any government who find themselves very weak and actually too weak to apply the reforms needed.
All right, Youssef Cherif, thank you so much for joining us from Tunis. We appreciate it. In Syria, the state news agency says